Hello and welcome to the garage. Today I have the Tamiya Armorock. It's a WT-01n chassis on the bench. Going to do some maintenance on it that's long overdue. If you remember from the video not too long ago, I bought the new hubs for the King Yellow G601 and it didn't fit, so I borrowed a hub from this one, which is right here. So I'm going to fix that, and then I actually during the speed run challenge this summer needed an extra shock, so I've since borrowed the shocks off of this one too. So this unfortunately has spent some time donating its parts because they fit so many different things and I needed them quick. So I have shocks and hubs I'm going to put on here. The hubs, I found these on eBay. I wasn't necessarily going for aluminum like I was before, but I found these are what I found. So I've got aluminum hubs to go on the rear, which actually for this one will be good because it's got hubs on the front, or aluminum hubs on the front already. Won't match, red on the front, blue on the back, but it'll be functional. That's fine. And then to replace these awful friction shocks, I've got a set of Yeah Racing aluminum shocks. I've used these on a couple other cars. I really like them. They're nice. And this set even came with oil. How about that? 30 weight. Nice. And of course some assembly required. But so I'm gonna put those together and throw on here. And there's, looks like 2 different springs, lots of different insides, ball joints, but I think I should be good with those. It's always good to have extras. And of course the shaft. So, and then the diaphragms and seals. And there's the directions. Right there. It's got everything. Titanium coating. That must be this color here. Nice. Alright, so I'm going to get to work putting these together. Thanks for stopping by the garage and enjoy the build. Alright, first thing I got to do is get these hubs on. There they are. Let's see what we got. So there we go. Question is, do they fit? Because that was the problem last time. We got it on and ready to go and they did not fit. Those will fit. Alright. Okay, I've got all the hubs laid out. 2 bearings for each one. Axles, dog bones, pins. The one thing that's different is before, when they were plastic, they had this Tamiya screw with a spacer for the suspension arm. This one came with machine screws with an aluminum sleeve to act as this part, so actually be a lot less friction in the back. So here's a little tip I like to do with these Tamiya cars when you're doing upgrades, and then you end up with metal screws going into metal parts. Traditionally, when you have a situation like that, you're supposed to use thread lock. But if you use thread locker on a Tamiya this close to the plastic, it will degrade the plastic and it'll crumble. So we can't do that. You don't want to use thread lock near plastic. I know I'll get a bunch of people saying, oh, I do it all the time and everything's fine. Read the label on the bottle. It does warn you not to do that. You could do it 100 times and not have a problem. But that one time with the Tamiya plastic, it'll ruin your vehicle. So I tend to use a dot of super glue. So I'll put some super glue on this back side so I don't glue the two parts together. And just let it go in there. And it will act as a thread locker. It's not as tight as true thread locker, but really all you want is for this screw not to back out. You don't want it to never be removable again, because if you got to do maintenance or something, you want to be able to remove the screw. Run your screw in there, and now that little bit of super glue will get in those threads. I can already feel it tightening a little bit. And I'll hold that screw. The goal here is to make sure it stays mobile. Alright, there we go. Now you got a screw that's in nice and tight. No issues. Alright, and now all set. Back to two hubs that fit. They spin freely. Suspension moves freely. Just when doing this, you don't want to over tighten these two screws, because you can tighten them down tight enough that your suspension doesn't move. So you get them all the way snug and then just a slight turn loose so your suspension moves. That's why putting a little bit of that super glue in the metal to metal contact helps, because that screw is in there pretty loose, so your suspension flows, so it'll hold it. Alright, next step is to build the shocks and get those installed. Okay, and here's kind of an exploded view of all the parts for one shock. These have a lot of parts. So you've got your cap, your shock head. Looks like a bushing, the oil seal. And then looking over here at what's inside the shock. You know, your shaft, your piston, your E-rings to hold that. Anti-leak, and then the two spacers. One is flat on both sides, and this bigger one has a stair step type thing going on, and that goes down. And then the cap for that, and then coming through the cylinder nut for your springs, and it has a little ring in there that will help it keep from slipping. You put it on, gives you a little resistance. There we go. Just like that. So, if you like to have it so you can just spin it real fast, then I guess you could leave that piece out. But I'm going to leave it in. Alright, and there we go. Then you got your spring, your end. Once it's capped, spring, end, shock, end. so that it all goes together. So I'm going to build one real quick and then I'll throw the rest of them together. So first, get an E-ring on there. These are some jeweler's pliers. They don't have teeth on them, so I won't mark anything up. And then you put your piston on. I'm going with the 4-hole V-shaped one, because why not? Okay, that's on. And we'll put that down in here. Thusly. And then we'll get a little bit of oil. I'm just going to use the shock oil that came with them, because why not? Maybe if I can get the cap off. Oh. There we go. It's one of those. Oil in there. That just keeps the seal lubricated. Perfect. It keeps it from drying out and lets the shaft move freely. So the spacer, after that, anti-leak O-ring spacer, that's the one without the stair step. And then we got the rod guide. That's the one that has the stair step, so that'll be facing out this way. And that will seal the hole in the cylinder end, which goes here. And that's on there. Alright. And that is the shock body. Okay, now we can put the bottom on. Let's see how well easily this screws on. Okay, well I don't have any shock pliers. I just got some, it's fake leather, that I wrap around the shaft and then hold it with pliers. Depending on how difficult this is usually good enough. What you don't want to do is you don't want to mark that shaft, because if you mark that shaft, then it doesn't want to slide through anymore, and then you're done. There we go. That one's put together. So I like to use the tool holder for my Tamiya tool set. Take the tool holder, and that will hold your shock in place. So what we need to do, it's nice and free, so I'm gonna put it at about half. I don't know if I can get the light in there where you can see it. I'm gonna fill that up with the oil. It's draining underneath pretty well. I'm gonna pull it down, push it up, pull it down, and I'll fill it. Slowly. You don't want to bring it out of the oil because I'll add air, but this is just pushing the air out of the shock, out from under the oil. Get that all the way up to the top. Do that a few more times. I don't see too many air bubbles, so looks like I did pretty good so far. Alright. That's full with no air. Then set it in here. Just sit and rest. I see some air bubbles trying to come up now. I'm going to get the rest of the shocks to that stage, and then I will come back and finish the final assembly. I have all 4 full of oil and sitting here waiting for the bubbles to rise to the surface. This one's done. This one I just put in. I doubt that the camera shows, but there's a lot of bubbles in that one. This one I don't see any bubbles anymore, so we'll go ahead to the next step. The next step gets a little messier. So we got to float the diaphragm on there. Should get a nice bit of overflow if it seals on right. Press it so it seals, and then the bushing goes on top. Got a nice little bit of suction there. Or, I don't know. It seals anyway. If I call it suction, but should be no air in here, just oil. There we go. Okay. There we go. Nice. Perfect. Now get the other ones done and go from there. Alright, got all 4 shocks assembled. This is what they look like. Nice and soft, they're not pushing or pulling. Perfect. They came with 3 sets of springs, soft, medium, hard. I'm going to go with soft, because this isn't a very heavy vehicle and I'd like the suspension to be soft. And it has a narrow width and it likes to roll, so I'd like this suspension to help absorb some of that. So I'm going soft. Spring goes on, and then these go like that. That keeps everything together. And there's your shock. And if it feels too soft, you can always add some tension with that. And just that little bit added a lot. So there we go. Now they go onto the vehicle. Thusly. Now, once upon a time, this had similar shocks on here, so I am assuming that these will just snap on, actually, just like that. There it is. Nice. Alright, on to the other 3. Alright, that's it. Repair is complete. I've got the new aluminum hub. And I only went with aluminum because that was the first one I could find. Plastic ones are kind of hard to find. So, aluminum it is. I really didn't care what material it was made out of as long as it worked for this car. This is just a fun runner, doesn't matter. And then there's the shock, and again that's a Racing shock gear, big bore shock. So, plus it looks nice. Love that titanium coat. Looks really nice. This thing has a few other Racing parts. The bulkhead is a Racing on both front and back. Actually, the servo's Racing. So, done a few upgrades. So there's the shocks in the front. Looking good, nice and soft. Alright, so I'm gonna put the wheels back on this and call it done. Thanks for stopping by the garage, and take care.